Hey y'all, what is up? This is Rosie, and I thought I would talk about something kind of morbid, but I found it interesting anyway. So, I have this book called The Hollywood Book of Death, and it says the bizarre, often sordid passings of more than 125 American movie and TV idols. And it is by James Robert Parrish. I also have a book called The Hollywood Book of Scandals. I think that's what it's called. And I think it's written by the same person. So every once in a while, I want to open these books up, find some stories that I think are interesting, and bring them to you guys. And 2 stars in this book so far that I thought were interesting. There were others that I might go back and read over to record something, but this is something that I just thought was interesting today. So the first one is child star Bobby Driscoll. A lot of people might remember his voice in Peter Pan. That was done in, when does it say, 1953. And after that, his star pretty much fell. So Bobby Driscoll was born in Cedar Rapids, Iowa in 1937 and moved with his folks to Los Angeles in 1943. Soon after he got there, this barber, whose child was already an actor, told his mom, "Why don't you take Bobby out and try him out for movies?" So she took him out to MGM, and he got a part in Margaret O'Brien's Lost Angel in 1943, and he was 6 years old. He was making $500 a week, which back in those times was a great amount of money, and he, I guess, was the family's breadwinner. He starred in other movies such as Song of the South, of course, in 1946, which is a very controversial movie today. So Dear to My Heart in 1948, and his greatest success was a movie called The Window in 1949, and he was given a special Oscar as the year's Outstanding Juvenile Performer. I'm taking this right out of the book, by the way. I'm reading like right out of the book. So he was in he played Jim Hawkins in Treasure Island in 1950, and of course again he was the model and the voice for Peter Pan in 1953. And by 1954 he reached that awkward teenage stage where most teenagers get breakouts on their face, they get pimples, and he just wasn't as, I guess, good looking or charming as they wanted him to be anymore. So they pretty much just stopped finding parts for him, which I always thought was heartless, that you would take a child, give them the world, and then pretty soon they're just like nothing, like you never knew them. And it's like, how are they supposed to get over that? How are they supposed to get used to that? That once they were stars and now they have to do menial jobs. Like, he got into drugs. He got into drugs. The first drug he tried was marijuana when he was 16. And a quote from him is, "I really feared people. I tried desperately to be one of the gang. When they rejected me, I fought back, became belligerent and cocky, and was afraid all the time." And again, he tried marijuana at the age of 16 and then got into harder drugs, eventually becoming addicted to heroin. And so, the arrests came. He got arrested quite a few times on drugs charges. He even got arrested once for being suspected of pushing drugs, and life was just really hard for him. And After abandoning acting for a little while, he took odd jobs, and then he married a woman named Marjorie. They had a son, and he didn't want his little boy to go through the things that he was going through and to be dealt that same hand. But eventually Marjorie, she divorced him for some reason. I don't think it gives a reason. Yeah, I don't think it gives a reason, but he was again, back on the drugs and arrested again in 1959. And he was in the Chino Penitentiary for a while, and he went to New York and he became a carpenter. And his last few months were probably really hard. It says he died penniless in an abandoned Greenwich Village tenement. His body was later discovered by two children playing there on March 30th, 1968. 2 empty beer bottles were found by the corpse, and there were needle marks on his arms. And because no one knew who he was buried in a pauper's grave. And that is just so heartbreaking, like how you can be on top of the world 1 minute to being buried in a pauper's grave because no one knows who you are. So sad, so sad. It says the causes of death were listed as heart attack and hardening of the arteries. Later that year, when Bobby's father was himself dying, his mother tried again to find Bobby. She had no success, and she went to the FBI for assistance. Time passed, and finally she heard from an LA County agency that her son was officially dead. He had been traced through his fingerprints to that unknown corpse who had been buried back in Manhattan. And sadly, he was very aware of his situation, for he is quoted as saying, "I was carried on a satin cushion and then dropped into the garbage can." And again, like I said, I don't understand how Hollywood can be so heartless as to take a child from their school days, from their friends, from their neighborhoods, give them all the money, all the success they could ever think of, all the success they could ever dream of, and then suddenly drop them off the face of the earth like they were nothing. I don't know how Hollywood producers and directors and bigwigs think that a child is supposed to get used to just living a normal life, because you carried them and you made them feel like stars. You told them they were stars and they were famous and everybody loved them and they were getting awards, and then suddenly they're nothing to you now. So that was just a really heartbreaking story. The second story I wanted to talk about involved River Phoenix. River Phoenix was a huge deal to me when I was a child. He was one of my many crushes. The first movie I ever saw him in was the movie Stand By Me. To this day, I think that is an awesome picture, and I just love it. People today know his brother Joaquin Phoenix, which many have seen in The Joker, but I knew and know River. He was just a heartthrob back in the day. He was just crush worthy. He was sensitive and he was sweet, and he was a vegetarian, and he was unfortunately also on drugs. He was in such movies as The Explorers in 1985, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers for one season, which was a television series for one season, 1982 and 83. And there was, oh, I remember this one, A Night in the Life of Jimmy Reardon. I never got to see that movie, but I remember hearing about it and wanted to see it so badly because River was in it. And he was in My Own Private Idaho. And it says it showcases Phoenix as a narcoleptic gay street hustler with strong feelings for his upper-class hustler pal Keanu Reeves. And I never got to see that. I want to see it. It sounds like a good movie, but I just never got to. But he was also a musician, and he was really great friends with the band Red Hot Chili Peppers. I think he was friends with Flea. And so on the night in question, which was October 30th of 1993, I believe it was. It says, on Saturday, October 30th, after working on the picture, which picture was that? Dark Blood, I guess. He took a limousine back to his room, number 328 at the Hotel Nico in Los Angeles. And he met his siblings, Rain and Joaquin, and his girlfriend, Samantha Mathis. And they were just partying, having a good time. He was looking forward to getting to wind down and perform some of his music at the Viper Room. When he got there, the way I heard it told once was that the band that was already on stage, which I'm finding out was Red Hot Chili Peppers and Johnny Depp, who was on stage with them, they told him that he couldn't perform anymore, that he was really looking forward to it, but they told him there was no place for him because their performance just went over and they just couldn't find a place for him, I guess. Which I don't understand why. The Viper Room was half owned by Johnny Depp, so why not find him a place? But hey, I've always been kind of bitter about that. And so I heard it said once that he was so devastated by that he went to the bathroom and he just overdid it on the drugs that night. Sorry for my voice. He overdid it on the drugs that night and things happened the way that they happened. But the way it says here is that, wait a minute, let me find it. It says, on stage, an all-star band. Sorry for my voice again. I haven't drank anything all day. On stage, an all-star band, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, was playing. The movie star Johnny Depp, who was part owner of the Viper Room, was performing along with them. By now, River was quite intoxicated and under the influence of assorted drugs. Some on the scene recall that the actor looked pale, thin, and enervated. I never read that word before, I'm sorry. And he was slurring his words. Oh gosh, it's so sad. In the men's bathroom just after they arrived, River reportedly took an exotic form of heroin and had a severe reaction to the drug. He was offered Valium to calm down, but thereafter he began vomiting over his shirt. He passed out briefly and told his friends that he was having trouble breathing and needed fresh air. With the help of Joaquin and others, River was taken out of the club. While being carted outside, the still aware Phoenix supposedly told a doorman, "I'm gonna die, dude." Out on the street, River soon collapsed and went into convulsions. His legs and arms flailing and the back of his head thumped on the sidewalk. Ouch. My God, poor guy. While Rain cradled her brother's head in her lap, the hysterical Joaquin called 911 to help. It was 1:10 a.m. when Joaquin yelled into the phone, "You must get here, please. He's dying." Dang. Obviously, he didn't make it. And so, wow. The paramedics were hoping to, stimulate his heart. They inserted a pacemaker, but at 1:51 a.m. on Halloween morning, the 23-year-old actor was pronounced dead. Dang. The autopsy performed on Phoenix showed that he had died of acute multiple drug intoxication, including marijuana, Valium, cocaine, and heroin. River was supposed to have played a part in the movie Interview with the Vampire. He was supposed to play the part of the interviewer that was given to Christian Slater. Christian Slater never felt that the part was meant for him. He didn't feel right playing the part. So he donated his $250,000 salary to River Phoenix's favorite charities, which I always thought was so sweet. I remember hearing about his passing. I was at school when I heard about it. I guess that was November 1st, maybe. And a girl who was in my ROTC class, she was just devastated because she was in love with River Phoenix. She was absolutely just in love with him. She was a pretty girl too. And we were just like bonding over that because we both loved him. And then shortly thereafter, I saw his death photo. I think it was in like Weekly World News or something, or National Enquirer, I don't know. And I remember just looking at him and seeing that he did not look like he was at peace. He looked the way I remember it, which is probably not the way it was, but the way I remember it because it was so long ago. Oh my gosh, it's almost been 30 years. But I remember he looked kind of green, or like a grayish green, like the way you see zombies and corpses look in movies is the way he looked. He just didn't look at peace to me. I'm sorry to say that. And I saw Ghost Adventurers, where they did a show at Viper Room, and they supposedly talked to River's ghost, his spirit, and I think what they said was that he was confused, almost like he didn't know he had died. And that, if that's true, if that is legit, that is so heartbreaking. So, yeah, I remember hearing about that night. Bobby Driscoll and River Phoenix were caught into a world that they had no business going into, which of course is the world of drugs. And they had so much talent and so much to give to the world, and I just wish that they were allowed to be here a bit longer, because who knows what else they could have done in movies, in pop culture history. But sadly, that was not to be. So anyways, tell me what you guys think. Give me a like, subscribe, comment, and that would mean so much to me if you guys would care to, of course. I have started putting a link for donations in my description box, and they are appreciated but not required, of course. It's to your own, pleasure. But anyway, I want to thank you guys so much for wasting time with me. I love you guys very, very much. Hope to see y'all on the next upload. Bye for now. Hey y'all, real quick before I let you go, I just wanted to apologize for the ending of this video, for being a little bit flustered and at a loss for words. I did not know that reading those stories would affect me the way that they did, especially Rivers, because I have read and heard that story many times over the past 30 years. And so I just wanted to apologize for the ending. I was just really flustered, kind of heartbroken, and just revisiting a part of my past that I didn't even know I had a problem with. So hopefully you forgive me for that, and I do hope that the next video will be a better one. Thanks again for listening to me. Thanks for liking. Thank you so much for subscribing and hanging in there. I will try to do better videos. Bye for now.